Okay, so I promised you today that we would talk about ways to improve your mobility so that I can have good posture. And mobility is a product of your chronic posture. So last time we talked about having a really good pelvic position sets me up for a really good upper back position, which sets me up for a really good head position. But I can't get in any of those positions if my muscle is too tight to let me get there. So let's look at what helps improve each area and see if we can't get you moving better and breathing better. If we look at the bottom half of this puzzle, it's my pelvis. And for me to be able to get my pelvis rotated forward so that I can either stand in a stagger or so that I can sit on my butt bones, I need to have enough hamstring length for that to happen. So that hamstring controls my ability to rotate my pelvis when I move and my ability to rotate that pelvis when I sit down. So hamstring flexibility is really, really important. If I want to improve my hamstring mobility so that I can sit better, I can stretch it in standing or I can stretch it in sitting. I'm going to show you in standing just because it's easier on the video. But if you look at how your hamstring attaches, it attaches and it rotates as it attaches. So if we're going to stretch hamstring, the best way to stretch it is rotating through it. So in sitting or in standing, I can put my foot up on a chair. So we're going to see if I'm going to fall down right now. I can put my foot up on a chair. Now, if you can cross midline, meaning instead of having my leg up and out to the side, I have my leg, woohoo, up and across my body, that's gonna load the stretch all the more. So if I have my leg up and across my body, one stretch I can do, sitting or standing, is rotate my foot in and out. As I rotate it in, it puts that hamstring muscle on stretch, and because we're stretching it rotationally, we're gonna get a better stretch. So I can rotate my foot in and out, or I can rotate my body in and out. The goal though, whether I'm sitting or standing, is as I'm in this position and I'm rotating my foot or I'm rotating my trunk, I want to try to stick my butt out as much as possible because that's creating a better load at the top half of that hamstring. So sitting rotation, trunk rotation, never ever ever do I bend straight over. That bending straight over is stretching more low back than it is hamstring. I would rather have you stay up tall, rotate, and stretch your hamstring out. When you stretch your hamstring, you're also putting some stretch on your sciatic nerve. So right now as I put my foot down, my toe is tingling. That's okay. It'll come back, but if you have a history of back pain or any back issues, and it hurts to do the stretch, meaning it's creating low back pain, it's creating more than a stretch in the system, stop doing it. Then you need to seek help from a phenomenal physical therapist to kind of help guide you in stretches that are more specific to the limitations that you have. Okay, so now we move further, or we move to the other side. So hip flexor. You don't think about it much when you sit because that hip flexor is in a shortened position. But when I stand, if I'm looking to get into that staggered stance posture, or I'm trying to sit up nice and tall, if I have a really, really tight hip flexor, it's going to drag me down. If I have spent a lot of time in that slumped posture sitting, and I sit a lot, or you complete exercises that are really hip flexor dominant, so a lot of bicycle abdominals, mountain climbers, burpees, if you like Stairmasters, step aerobics, this kind of motion can make those hip flexors really tight and it can make it hard to come up and be mobile against gravity. So to stretch that guy, I can put one foot back. I'm not using a rolling stool this time, I don't want to crash. I can put one foot up on a step, I can come up nice and tall, and I shift forward. I'm not going to hold it. I shift in and out of it, in and out of it, in and out of it. I should feel this on the front side of my hip. You should not feel it in your low back. If you feel it in your low back, that's a sign of one of two things. Either that hip flexor is so tight that as you lean forward, your body's trying to find motion, and so it finds motion by shearing through your low back, Or your abdominal muscles are weak enough that it can't stabilize you as you come forward. And again, we get that shear in your low back. Stretching is stretching, not pain. So it can feel like a big stretch. It should not hurt. So I can be here and stand and stretch, or I can sit in a chair on the side and stretch this way if sitting is something that's more comfortable for me. So now we're going to move up the chain. So I have tackled my pelvis. Now I have to move to rib cage and trunk. So if I want to stretch to breathe better, I need to open up pec minor and my rib cage. So if I put my hand on a wall or a doorway, and I can block my forearm or block your elbow, and I'm here and I rotate away and look away, I can stretch that entire upper quadrant. Now, in a perfect world, we would be at a 90-90 position because that's going to apply the greatest force and the greatest amount of stretch. However, it also can impinge your shoulder if you're not mobile enough. So that means I have a pinch or an uncomfortable sensation up here. Stretching should feel like stretching, it shouldn't feel like pain. So if I'm here and I get a pinch or this is uncomfortable in my shoulder, drop the angle. So once I drop the angle of my elbow, I block it in a wall, I rotate away, come back, rotate away, come back. I'm gonna rotate away, and to get a bigger stretch, I'm gonna breathe in. So you breathe in while you're stretching that. Not only do we stretch pec, but we also stretch intercostals. And so that helps give you more room to breathe. When you do a breathing stretch, you don't wanna do breathing in a row. You wanna stretch, breathe in, breathe out, do a couple more stretches, and then breathe in, breathe out again. If you breathe too many times in a row, it's gonna make you lightheaded. So no more than 2 or 3 breathing assisted stretches while you're doing it, so you don't end up lightheaded and feeling kind of funky. So that will stretch the front of my chest. If I look at lateral rib cage or mobilizing through here, instead what I'm gonna do this time is I'm gonna hang on to the edge of my door so I can be fingers on the edge of the door, step across, and hang into that rib cage. Same thing, I can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So you can do this without a door, meaning I stand left leg back, hands up, and I can tip to the right and breathe in to stretch this out. So you always tip away from the back leg. Or I can be more aggressive and hang onto the door and step into it so I get a little body weight through that stretch. Again, this is helping stretch the outside of my rib cage. It's also helping stretch my lat. And so your latissimus goes from your armpit to your low back. So it's okay if you feel a stretch at your armpit. It's okay if you feel a stretch at your rib cage. It's okay if you feel a stretch at your hip. It is not okay if it creates a pinch or a pain in your shoulder, and it is not okay if it creates a pinch or a pain in your low back. So don't do anything that's gonna make you more sore. You need to make sure that you do both sides. Again, I can do this in sitting as well. If I sit and I put my knees close together and my hands up over my head and I tip as far as I can to the side and breathe in, and then keep stretching, breathe in, keep stretching, breathe in, keep stretching, that will help me mobilize. So I don't have to be able to stand and have good balance to get that stretch. So now we've stretched out the front of our chest, the side of our rib cage, our pelvis. What's left but our head? Head is a huge issue. Head gets pulled forward in everything we do because your head is your eyeballs are your driver. And so your head holds your eyeballs. So as I lean forward to try to see the computer screen, as I lean forward to try to cook, do laundry, do my job, my head is always ahead of my trunk. When my head is ahead of my trunk, my upper trap holds that up. So that upper trap can get really, really tight and make you feel like it's harder to breathe because that muscle is on tension. So what we want to do to stretch that guy out and to give you a better head position is I want to try to pull my head back in space. You can put your hand behind you. You can hold on to your pant leg. I'm going to bring my chin and my head back over my body, and then I'm going to tip. If you can pull that hand down, meaning I'm holding on to the bottom of a chair or I'm holding on to pants that won't slide up, or use my other hand, provided that doesn't pinch here, I'm gonna pull this down while I'm in good posture, and I'm gonna tip. Woo! And then same thing, I can breathe in to get a better stretch. I mean, this is like electric stretch from my ear all the way down my shoulder blade, but this is going to help me be able to get my head in a better position. I just stretched my right side, I can now tip this far. I haven't stretched my left side, I can tip this far. It makes a big difference. And it will make you feel less tired. So if you're somebody who has asthma, COPD, those of us who have it, because I do, we breathe a lot and are chronically tight through our upper tract. Or if you're someone at a desk job, this can get really tight. So doing this stretch, again, stretch, not sharp, not pinch, not pain, just stretch. If you have any pinch or significant discomfort with this, stop, and you need to see a medical professional. Again, physical therapist, to make sure that we don't have a joint restriction limiting how far you can bend. Stretching should not make you feel worse for the long term. It may feel worse while you do it, meaning, whoa, that's really tight. However, when you get done, I should feel better. If you don't feel better and you feel worse when you get done, cease and desist and have somebody check you out to make sure there's not something that's limiting your ability to stretch and instead causing pain. So, mobility can have a big impact in getting into that really good posture to help you breathe better and feel better all day.